The story of Black History Month began in 1915, half a century after the 13th Amendment to the Constitution. It was formed to celebrate the achievements of Black and African American people across the U.S. Thank you for joining us today as we share stories of local people inspiring our community. In Amarillo's early years, trains were pivotal in hauling passengers from point A to point B. Many of the workers on board those trains were Pullman porters, a historic large group of African American men who worked on luxury cars for the Pullman Company. While they served people for low wages on board the trains, they were pillars of change in the Black community, and some of them called Amarillo home. Railroads formed the backbone of America. Starting in the 1800s, trains hauled millions of pounds of freight and passengers from point A to point B on a daily basis. Chicago businessman George Pullman started hiring thousands of Black men, many of them former slaves, to serve passengers traveling the country on luxurious sleeping cars known as Pullman cars.
And the job was a cross between a concierge, a bellhop, a valet, housekeeper, mechanic, babysitter, and security guard.
Plenty of them came through and were based in Amarillo, working at the Santa Fe Depot downtown, back when passenger trains still rode the rails on the high plains.
Typically, when you're riding a train, you had to get off the train to get a meal and then come back onto the train. So he came up with the concept of putting a hotel car where he put a little small kitchen in the car so that they could prepare meals and serve them to people in their seats.
Locally, not much is known about the Pullman porters who worked and lived in Amarillo, as they've all passed on. Local historians we spoke with tell us a gentleman named Charlie Wilson was the last living Pullman porter in Amarillo and passed away in 2004. Pullman porters often worked long hours, up to 400 hours monthly on the regular, with very little time off.
But there was a downside to the job. The hours were long, the pay was very modest. In other words, not very good, and a lot of the porters depended on tips for earning a decent income, which was somewhat demeaning to the porters. So that wasn't too good.
In 1925, porters formed the Brotherhood of Sleeping Car Porters, the first all-Black union in the country.
And the union actually wound up being a leader in the civil rights movement in terms of overall helping to improve the working conditions for African Americans relative to the civil rights movements.
According to historians, Pullman pursued Black men as porters because he felt they would work longer hours for cheap wages. In the early 1900s, many businesses wouldn't hire Black workers. As a result, the Pullman Company became the largest single employer of Black men in the country. By the 1950s, passenger train service was on the decline, and eventually in 1969, the Pullman Company ended its sleeper car service.
World War II ridership on the railroads was in a nosedive. This country went on a road and highway building boom. People were buying cars and started driving places rather than riding the trains. We also had airlines.
Although the Pullman cars ultimately faded away over time, the legacy of the Pullman porter continues to stretch far beyond the tracks. Now, many porters saved up money and sent their kids and grandkids to college to get opportunities they never had, and it paid off. Thurgood Marshall, who became a justice of the Supreme Court, jazz musician Oscar Peterson, Olympic track star Wilma Rudolph, just to name a few, all of whom the descendants of a Pullman porter. Moving on this morning, King Daru, a name that football fans on the High Plains are sure to be familiar with. Daru was a standout running back at Tascosa High School who helped lead the Rebels to a state semifinal appearance in 2018. Daru went on to have a successful career at Purdue, but now the Rebel alum is back on the sidelines mentoring the next generation of Rebels. Maya Clark has more on his journey back home.
It's just a blessing to be back, and where it all started, it's like came in a full circle.
After graduating from Tascosa, Drew spent 4 seasons at Purdue and ended his career as a Boilermaker with over 1,500 all-purpose yards and 13 touchdowns. He then transferred to Cal Berkeley and eventually made the tough decision to walk away from football, focusing on his health and the new possibilities life has to offer.
It was a hard pill to swallow because I do deeply and truly love football, and it's what I've been doing my whole life. But my family was there for me, and they talked me through it and helped me see the bigger picture. Coach Plunk was there. He was by my side throughout the whole process, and just coming back and just letting football go, It was a hard pill to swallow, but I've accepted it, and I know I have a bigger purpose here on earth than just run the ball and score touchdowns.
I've known King pretty much his entire life, and to see where he's come from, he was always a quality young man. He was always one that took education serious. He took football very serious. Now he's back with us, but it's great to see what kind of man he's turned into.
Drew's time away from home wasn't met without struggle. Before the start of his senior year at Purdue, he lost his older brother and had to face the grief head on.
It made me stronger, to be honest. It made me stronger, and it made me the man I am today because he's impacted me so much. And, you know, every step I take, I know he's taking one with me, but it's just, it helped me see that I have a bigger purpose here on earth, you know? Just not playing football, like I said, not running the ball, but making an impact on everybody I come in contact with.
The transition from the field to the sidelines has been an adjustment. He's taking it in stride.
I ask a lot of questions because I'm like a rookie, you know, it's like first year, but they've been doing it for so long. But it's just, you just see a different perspective on things. Like, you just notice a lot more stuff. Like, when I was a player, my coach would tell me some things, and I'll be like, what is he talking about? Like, but now as a coach, it's like, I see what my coach is talking about, you know, because I'm telling these guys that now, and you just try your best to make them understand. But it's a lot different. It's a whole different perspective of things. Good job, Torrin.
I think he can reach them in some ways that we can't, just because he's closer in age, and he's closer in you know, just he's been there. He was there in high school 5 years ago, and you know, he went through college. And if kids want to go on to play college football, he's good for them as well, because he knows what it's like. He knows what it's going to take.
With the experience Drew has gained both on and off the field through life's wins and losses, he's reminding athletes that their purpose is not just to be an athlete.
We make an emphasis on creating better men, you know, on and off the field, and just trying to impact their life, just not on the field, but off the field as well. And that's what I'll take pride in as well, because football is not going to be there forever. You're not always going to be able to run the ball, catch the ball, do whatever you do on the field. So being a better man and having something going for your life is the bigger purpose of all this.
We do really teach, you know, this is about football, but it's hopefully about more than football. I hope it's about turning you into a quality young man, a good husband, a good father, a good worker. You know, if you go to the military, you know, a good soldier, whatever it is, we want to help develop your life. And it is great to be able to have somebody who's done it, and he can say, guys, firsthand, this worked.
Drew's advice to his younger self and youth in the community is to be patient.
I felt like sometimes in life I tried to rush things, and I tried to be in control of things instead of just letting things go how they're supposed to go. So I would just say be patient and just put in the work and let things control themselves.
Last season, the Rebels found success late in the season and went on to the third round of the playoffs. It was the first time in 4 years that they had done that. They lost their next game to the reigning state champions from Aledo. He was the first African-American to hold any spot on Amarillo ISD's board and left a legacy not many have followed.
I offered a unique perspective to the school board that it's never had, because I think I represented underserved communities unlike it has ever been served before.
James Allen was a longtime member of the Amarillo Independent School District Board of Trustees, serving nearly 2 decades on the board. Our Jack Kessler has more on Allen's impact on the community and how he broke barriers.
James Allen was appointed to the AISD School Board in 1999 to fill a vacant seat, and in the following year was elected to the board, becoming the first African American to serve on the school board in any capacity.
I looked at it, I was serving all 30,000+ students and 5,000 employees and 120 or 30,000 citizens. So that's the way I looked at it. I think I offered a unique perspective to the school board that it's never had, because I think I represented underserved communities unlike it has ever been served before.
Allen says his whole life he has tried to live a life of service, something he said he learned from his parents. Joe Young, who has known Allen all his life, says he is a man of integrity.
James is like his dad. He's not just a big man in stature. James is a big man at heart. And I'm telling you, if you talk to him, you can see this. And he's genuine, because it doesn't matter.
Allen is no longer a part of the school board, but he is still a voice in the community trying to make it better.
I tell my parents every day serving the community. They were educators, but they went much further than that. They were always volunteering. I think I grew up in a household like that. I couldn't help but some of that rub off on me. So that's why I continue, as long as my health will allow me, I will continue to do anything I can to help any community.
Jack, thank you. Alice also worked for the city of Amarillo as its community development administrator from 2011 to 2018. Allen says that role helps fund other agencies that are working with low to moderate income people along with the elderly, using state and federal funds to assist communities in Amarillo that traditionally have not received funding or attention from the city, the school district, or from the county or citizens in general. Black History Month includes remembering the good and the bad parts of our history, remembering a time when black students couldn't attend certain schools here in Amarillo. Our Princess Bryant takes us back to that important history lesson to the younger generations.
Carver High School has a deep history here in Amarillo, with many black leaders like Alfonso Vaughn attending and Johnny N. Allen coaching.
I came back home about 12 years ago, and Carver has always played an important part in my life. And I sat on the second wing, and I could hear students.
Graduates of Carver High School are now working to make sure that the history of the school stays alive for the next generation.
And Carver stayed, she had begun to die. So we went together, myself went to the school board and asked permission to put together a trophy case or remembrance case that we can remember Carver, that we could keep her alive, not just yesterday, but today and forevermore.
Lily Miller was part of the last senior graduating class at Carver High School, and she explains there are many memories that are in the walls of the school.
There's so many things. All of the teachers that we had, they were loving toward their students. It was like we had another set of parents because they really did take care of us.
Miller is reminded of a song that the whole school would chant as they play against schools across the area.
Be here when the morning come. I'll be right here and I'm not gonna run. I built this house, now you know I'm boss and ain't nobody gonna run me off.
Miller asked that the school did not have new band uniforms and it had to be handed down from the previous years. But the students still loved everything about it because that is what Carver High School was.
Used textbooks, but it may be a page torn out of one, but then we shared that page with another student and we got the benefit of the whole thing. So we lived through it all and we excelled through it all.
Princess, thank you. The We Are Carver event was part of the city's Juneteenth celebration. People were able to go through the halls of Carver Early Childhood Academy and experience the history and share memories. Liberty Theater was built in 1921 and is located in the heart of downtown Amarillo. The theater spent years as the only theater in Amarillo where non-white people could watch a movie. Kaylee Hanna has more about Liberty Theater.
Liberty Theater was built by two Jewish Amarillo residents and allowed Black and Hispanic residents to watch films from its balcony.
The Liberty Theater, which still stands as a shell of its former self over close to the city library, was, as we understand it, not exactly integrated, but Black citizens could see movies there. There was a small balcony that they were relegated to for viewing the movies. Obviously, they were aware they were being discriminated against, but that was just everyday life. And there were efforts, of course, when we get into the civil rights era, to integrate those theaters, which eventually did happen. But the Liberty is a kind of a unique story in that civil rights history of Amarillo.
Reeves says Liberty Theater gave people of color a glimpse into what the white world would have been like.
Not only were people denied the privilege of entertainment, but in those days, a lot of your information came from theaters. They couldn't see these newsreels, during the war, World War II, for instance. That was so important to people. They were just kept perpetually not in the know, and that's another sad part about that era of our history.
Liberty Theater closed in 1953 and has long been abandoned. And although the theater still stands tall, time is running out.
Looking back on the effort 12 years ago that was made to possibly revitalize the theater, there were some studies done. And at the time, the building was deemed structurally sound. Since that time, I believe the roof has pretty much caved in. So over time, that's going to weaken the walls of that building. So something needs to be done at some point to that building. It becomes a precarious undertaking at some point, but definitely I would love to see some effort being made to preserve that building.
Kaylee, thank you. And according to Reeves, Liberty Theater still serves as a symbol of the civil rights era. He says the theater shows the injustice of how it once was and how we have to be on guard because it may seem like a long time in the past, but really it was just a few generations ago. He's a pillar in our community, and Tremaine Brown recently launched Unity Learning Communities through his The Vessel of Humanity and Compassion organization. The goal is to provide an after-school program to kids in our area. Princess Bryan explains.
The new project is not only brought on by Tremaine Brown and the Vessel of Humanity and Compassion, but also Amarillo Area Foundation. The project is called Unity Learning Communities and is an after-school program. The project is aimed at providing outside of school mentoring and tutoring services to children in the area. Unity Learning Communities is in the beginning phase and are looking for students, teachers, and counselors. Dr. Shona Rose, Unity Learning Communities Education Director, says the project wants to help a need that they are seeing in their community. She asked the team is creating the project will be able to accomplish that goal.
To take somebody with the passion and connections of Tremaine with the divergent thinking and ability to combine people and resources together that Jacob has, and then to take my dreams and research and experience with kids and education to combine something, to make something new.
She asked this team will be able to fulfill the goal of bringing education and mentorship to area children once the school doors close. Rose says that many people say that it takes a village, but not many are doing the work to provide something for students. So with the Unity Learning Communities, Rose adds that kids will be a part of the learning process and continue to grow in the community.
And if you're a parent and want to sign your kid up for this program, or if you're a teacher and want to participate to help other children, you can learn more at beblessedbythevessel.org. You've heard the name Charles Warford, but we want to introduce you to the man, Charles Warford. In 1962, he would found the Warford Mortuary, the oldest continuously operated African-American business in Amarillo. Jack Kessler has more about his legacy and impact in the community.
Charles E. Warford would move to Amarillo when he was 12 years old, and after serving his country in the Navy during World War II, he looked to how he could continue to serve.
And so he went to mortuary school. Then he started working in the death care industry throughout the state of Texas, continued to hone his skills and learn and network and develop relationships that he knew that he would need in order to be successful. Then came back home to Amarillo and did just that. Became one of very few African-American business owners in the community.
Not only was Warford a business owner, but he was also a community leader.
There are things that stand today that are existing in their full bloom today because of his work. The Cultural Center on Hayden is one of those examples. Ministerial Alliance, which is an organization of a collection of ministers in the community who work together, who serve together, who provide a level of leadership in the community to the residents, right?
In 2016, the Amarillo City Council voted to rename the former North Branch YMCA to the Charles E. Warford Activity Center.
We were very fortunate and blessed by the city of Amarillo when they named it used to be the old Y, but it's now called the Warford Activity Center in his honor. And so we were blessed, that he could be a part of that recognition as well.
The grand opening for the Warford Activity Center was held in January 2018.
Jack, thank you. Powell says they continue to honor his legacy by the way they serve their families and care for the people that walk through the doors. Amarillo United Citizens Forum is a nonprofit working to preserve Black history through the Historical Culture Center and other projects. Our Princess Bryan has more on the nonprofit and how they work to accomplish their goal.
The Amarillo United Citizens Forum operates the Black Historical Cultural Center located on the north side of town. The center is now used to host community meetings and a place where people could find resources and information, but before that, it was once a hospital.
Before the building was erected, it was actually the Black hospital. Dr. Wyatt was not allowed to practice at the white hospitals in town, and so they built a hospital where the Black residents could be seen.
The center is on the north side of Amarillo, an area that holds a lot of history, not only for the north side community, but for all of Amarillo.
The north side of town has traditionally been a forgotten part of the city plan and everything. Often neglected, often the residents not heard. So having a building there that has so much significance and holds so much history is extremely important.
The Amarillo United Citizens Forum is working on a lot of different projects, including restoring the floors in the center and offering GED classes.
So the original parsonage from the hospital where the nurses would go and rest, and so we want to restore that building so that we can open it up as the Wyatt Museum.
As people across the country celebrate Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday, Graves explains how the Amarillo United Citizens Forum and the Black Historical Cultural Center are continuing his legacy.
He wanted equality, but in order to have equality, you have to create systems that will allow equality to continue. And the way to do that is creating generational wealth, continuing to let our kids know what our history is, and continuing to encourage them to push further and further each generation.
Graves says anyone who wants to be a part of the projects that the nonprofit is working on can contact her or come by the center. For more information on their project and how to reach out, head to myhighplains.com. MyHighPlains.com is a great resource to find more about all of the stories we shared with you today and other Black history we've highlighted throughout the year. Since 1976, every American resident has designated February as Black History Month and endorsed a specific theme. This year, the theme is African Americans and labor, focusing on the ways that working, whether it be free, unfree, skilled, or unskilled, intersect with the collective experiences of Black people. Thank you for joining us today for our Black History Special.